Hello friends, welcome to Chess Training. Hi, I am Nikhil Joshi, Live Chessbook Academy. In this video, I am going to discuss some games and opening lines of classical variation of Grunfeld defense. So friends, let's begin. White played the move pawn d4, black played the move knight f6, white played the move pawn c4, black played the move pawn g6. Now white played the move knight to c3 and black played the move bishop to g7. Now if white goes for the move pawn to e4, this position will go in the King's Indian defense, where white is controlling the whole center and black will later on try to challenge the center. In this game, white player went for the move knight f3, where black played the move pawn d5 and challenged the white pawn and of course controlled the e4 pawn. Now at this point, there are two variations that are possible. If we go for pawn takes pawn and then knight takes pawn, it will lead to the exchange variation. In this particular game, white player went for the move bishop to f4. Now let's analyze what can happen. Here if black tries to grab a white pawn, practically white faces no difficulty because white can then play move like queen to a4, attacking the king. And once we attack the king, maybe black has to block it, where white will be easily able to recover the pawn. So when white played bishop to f4, targeting the c7 pawn in a way, and maybe he wants to play e3. So he played the move castling. Now comes the move pawn to e3. So what white has done, before playing e3, he has brought this bishop out of this pawn position, so that bishop will have some attacking chances. Here the black player played the move pawn to c5. Now this move is actually very essential from the black's point of view. In Grunfeld defense, black has to attack the white's center with his pawns like this. Now let us analyze what will happen if in this situation if he goes for d into c5. If he goes for d into c5, black can play the move queen a5, pinning the knight. Now what could be the possible threats is the move like knight to e4, threatening the knight, because once you play knight to e4, you will have knight's attack, queen's attack and the bishop's attack against this fellow. So now if he goes for something like pawn takes d5, what black can do is knight takes d5, attacking the bishop, attacking the knight, and there are now three attacks against the knight. So if we go for queen takes d5, black will go for bishop into c3 check. Now if white king moves to the square d1, then black can play rook d8 and trap the queen. Or else even if he tries to block the check, still the move rook to d8 is coming to create a skewer on the d file. So as white saves his queen, black can play simple bishop into d2 because his bishop was under attack from the pawn. As we can see, the black is going to be one knight up in this variation. Now let's return to the position after the sixth move, when black had played pawn to c5. D takes c5, queen a5, and the correct move here is knight to d2, to block the pin on the white's knight as well as this knight controlling the e4 square. Still black can go for knight e4, creating the attack on this diagonal. Now there are of course three attacks against the knight. So if knight into e4, pawn into e4, maybe white has to play something like rook c1, defending this fellow. Black can go for rook d8, attacking the queen. Queen moves here. Knight c6, and now this is very good position from the black's point of view, because He is already having the attack against the c5 pawn. He can bring bishop to f5 if required. His rooks have the open lines. His bishop has the very good open diagonal. Even though black is one pawn down. On the other hand, the white is yet to develop his bishop and yet to castle. So dear friends, this was some outline or broader idea of the Grunfeld defense classical variation. Now friends, I will show you some games on this line. So white played the move pawn d4, black went knight f6, white played the move pawn c4, black went pawn g6, knight c3, bishop g7, knight f3, d5, bishop f4, and black goes for castling. After castling, white goes for the move pawn to e3, black goes c5. Now we have already seen the idea of this move. So in this particular game, white played the move queen to b3, bringing out his queen to attack the pawn on d5. So as black goes for c takes d4, here he captures the white pawn, pawn takes pawn. Now the d5 pawn is under attack. So black plays pawn into d5, c4. Now who will capture this pawn? What do you think? The queen or the bishop? Yes, of course the bishop. Because when you play bishop into c4, you are developing a new piece. Now black played the move knight to c6. Now let us analyze the situation. When black played knight to c6, what is his idea? He is threatening the center, the d4 pawn. His other idea could be jump to a5 square to attack the queen as well as the bishop. In this position, since the position has become open, the center is no longer a closed center, this bishop could be really important in order to attack against the king side. Here white plays an aggressive move, knight to e5. His logic is, he is trying to hit the f7 square. Now of course there are 3 attacks against the f7 square. Now if black goes for knight into e5, white could play bishop into e5. Firstly, he is supporting this pawn, and also he is kind of challenging the bishop on g7, after which white could simply go for castle king side, rook d1, and just develop his remaining pieces. In the actual game, when we played knight e5, the black player went for knight to a5, hitting the queen, hitting the bishop. White went bishop into f7, attacking the king. Now of course, if rook takes bishop, queen takes rook. For 3 points, we will get 5 points. So black king went inside. Now white observes that my queen is under attack, my pawn on d4, which is an unsupported pawn. It is under attack from the queen. The white player went for the move queen to d1. The queen went back. Of course he supported the pawn and he saved his queen. And black here played the move knight to h5. Now what is black's logic? Let us analyze it little carefully. Observe the board. If you observe the board carefully, you can see that this bishop, which is unsupported fellow, is under the attack from the black knight. Secondly, black rook is attacking this bishop, who is defended by the knight. So what is probable thing? Suppose if we play bishop to e3, which would be a mistake. You know why? Because we are giving up the support to this fellow. What black can go for is bishop takes knight, removing the guard of this bishop. So if we capture him, now what will happen? Can he go for rook takes bishop directly? No. Because when we play pawn into bishop, the queens are now challenging each other. If he goes rook takes bishop, then queen into queen will be lost. So what black can do? he can exchange queen into d1 check, rook into d1. Remember, exchanging equal is also one of the ways to save your piece or pawn. Now he can of course go for rook takes bishop, where black will be one piece up. So in the actual position, he played the move bishop to g3. Now the idea of bishop into knight, removing the guard, is practically not working, because we will play bishop into bishop, and this is coming with check. Because this is coming with check, black doesn't have time for rook takes bishop. So black has to play the move like knight f6, and we can say now our bishop is going, so you can play bishop d5 maybe, yeah, with the support of knight, and we can just come back to f3 and keep the control of the center. So this is why when bishop g3 came, black went for knight into g3 first. When he goes for knight into g3, he has actually removed the guard of this fellow. Now white realized that if I go for something like pawn into knight, I will first have to give up the knight for bishop, and then this bishop is under attack, as we have seen in the last variation. So here white went for a tricky attack, knight into g6. And now you see friends, suddenly the black king is exposed. H into g6, and now we go for pawn into g3, where our rook has made the attack on the black king. Now the black king has practically no way to run anywhere. So he plays bishop to h6, only move to block check. Rook takes bishop. It's not a mate. He still has a fighting chances. He plays king g7, and after king g7 we go for rook takes g6 check. Because our rook is dying, our bishop is dying, there is no way to save both of them at a time, isn't it? So, one of my students once said that queen d3 could come. His idea was, if king into h6, then queen into g6 is coming, and if king into f7, then also queen into g6 is coming. Even the idea is looking quite attractive, but there is one piece that can block this idea, is the bishop on c8. This bishop suddenly can come here with the support of this pawn. Now white is in a big trouble, because his rook is going, his queen is going, his bishop is going. At the most he can play something like queen to e3, supporting this fellow, and he has to give up the bishop. So in the actual game, white went for rook takes g6, attacking the king. As he attacked the king, black went king into f7. Now we go for queen h5. Now suddenly the black king is in a big trouble because of the discovered attack that is coming now. Say for example, if he plays queen into d4, you have rook g6, discovered check, and the queen will be lost. If he tries something like rook h8, trying to attack our queen, we can simply play rook h6, discovered check. Now there are two attacks against this fellow. The king is going, so only move could be probably king g7, queen g6 check, king f8, rook takes h8 is check and mate. Isn't it, friends? So you would be completely winning. So in this situation, the black player went for bishop f5. Maybe he thought that white would capture this and discovered attack can be avoided for some time. But white went for rook d6 check, king g7, queen g5 check. Now what will happen is, if he goes to this square, we can first capture this fellow. If he goes to this square, capture the queen with check, and again the black king is under trouble. isn't it? If he captures your rook, just go and grab his knight, and you are completely winning. So you know friends, when you are playing the game, safety of the king is one of the most important things that we must care about. Now we have played queen to g5 check. He goes king h8, and after king h8 we have got the move. He didn't capture the queen, he played rook to h6. Why he didn't capture the queen? Because he knew that the king is going to be trapped. So bishop h7, rook takes h7, king takes h7. Now, as we can see, the queen has trapped the black king. He is standing on the open line. So now white plays a brilliant move, castle queenside. So with the move castling, what is happening is his rook is now coming into the game. The rook shall come to the h1 square, after which there would be no square for the king to run, isn't it? And of course, by going to castling, we have gone to a no check zone. Black cannot give us any checks. No checks are possible, even by any sacrifice also. He played the move pawn push or whatever he may play. Just bring your rook here, and you have a check and mate. So friends, now let's move to the another game. The game is from black side now. So game goes d4, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, and black goes d5, knight f3, bishop g7. Now in this game, white went for the move queen b3, attacking the pawn on d5. So black had to capture it. You know, see, when you go for queen b3, what has happened? There are now 3 attacks against this d5 pawn. The knight, the pawn, the knight, the queen. And black has got only 2 defenders, the knight and the queen. So he captures you. You play queen takes this, and he castles. After he castles, white plays the move bishop to f4, attacking the pawn on c7. So black supports it, saves it. Now white plays a move e3. See, this is more of a solid setup we can call. So you know what is happening. You are defending the central pawn, and now you should bring out the bishop. Black played the move knight bd7. Now, if we play something like bishop to e2 with the idea to castle, what black could go is for knight to h5. Then if he is attacking our bishop, so if you move back, knight into g3, h into g3, and white has to give up the long range piece for the short range. Even though this position is completely solid, and practically speaking, black has no immediate attacks on white. So the white player went for h3. Maybe he is making the place for the bishop to move back. Black went knight b6, attacking the queen. Queen goes back. Now black played the move bishop to e6. Now black is threatening to play bishop to c4. This bishop is threatening to come to c4 square. Should white be afraid of it? Practically speaking, no. The best move here could be simple move bishop to e2. Remember friends, when you are playing the game, developing your pieces on the right squares and making your king safe is equally important. It's equally important. So now if black plays say something like bishop c4 on the support of knight, what will happen? Our queen has to move back. That's it. So if bishop into e2, you can simply play queen into e2. Even if he tries for some kind of attacking action, it practically isn't creating too much of a threat for white. For example, he has come to hit the bishop. So okay, you can simply go back, no issue. If knight into c3, pawn into c3, that's about it. He tries to hit you, okay, fair enough, just defend it. He again tries to hit this fellow, okay, no problem, just defend it. And practically speaking, this position is alright for white. On the next step, you should castle. So once you castle, say example, he tries to again attack the center with the move say c5, thinking that if you go for pawn into c5, he can get bishop into c3, and just castle. Don't overreact. It is very important that we make our king safe and keep our pieces on good squares. Now this position is well playable for white. There is no practical problem for him. Say example, pawn into pawn, no problem. You have got a open file for your rook. But you know friends, what happened? When black played this move bishop e6, when black played this move bishop to e6, threatening bishop c4, white was scared. He imagined that there will be some big attack. Practically, as I have shown you, there is no attack. But he played the move knight d2. Now you know what happened. Because of this knight d2 move, the bishop has not come out. Bishop has not come out. The castling will not happen. Now black started to take the attacking action. Knight f d5. He attacked the bishop. To maintain the bishop, bishop went back. Now black went pawn c5, hitting the center. The main idea of the Grunfeld defense. Hit the center afterwards. So white went for pawn into pawn, targeting the knight, and black now went knight into knight, opening the line of the queen. Now if white plays pawn into knight, what black can go for is queen takes bishop, capture. Now this one is dying, so maybe knight here attacking this fellow is under attack, rooks are coming to d8 and c8 quickly. So all in all, a very good position for black. In the actual game, white himself went for exchange. Now about the placement of pieces. As I was saying, placement of pieces on good squares is important. Suppose if black capture this queen with this rook, we have captured the queen, there is no problem into that. But you know, now where will this rook go? He cannot jump above the head of this rook and reach the c8 square to take the open file. So this is why rook f into d8, so that the other rook may have some chances. Now the white player went for the move pawn into knight on b6. As he goes for pawn into knight on b6, he thought that this knight is under attack, so he will run away. But black went for an interesting attacking move, a into b6. You may wonder why he is giving a free knight, because if white plays pawn takes this, then bishop into c3 would come to attack the knight. If he comes to attack the knight, white has to play, there is of course this bishop, this rook, they can't come to help the knight. So he has to play something like rook to d1, and now rook into a2 would come to target the knight again. Now there are 1, 2 and 3 attacks on this pinned knight, so he will be captured. So this was black's plan. White realized that after this pawn into b6, he has opened the line of the rook and he is planning to target my knight if I capture his knight. So in the actual game, white didn't go for capturing the knight. Instead, he tried bishop to c7. His intention was to attack the rook. Now black went for the sacrifice move, rook takes d2. Now remember friends, these sacrifice things are usually played by the very experienced players. The common or the new players should not try it unless and until they are very much sure that they will either get back the material that they are giving or they will get the check and mate. So you know what happened? The white king went for king takes d2, and now comes knight e4 check. Now after knight e4 check, you know what is happening? Where can the king go? Suppose if he goes anywhere on the c file, say example king c2 for example, you have rook c8 which will trap the bishop. So even if we have given a rook for knight, that is 5 points for 3 points, we will surely get back these points here. The second thing, after knight e4 check, where can the king go? Suppose if he goes to d3 or this square, okay, d3 or this one, any of these two, what happens is knight into f2 comes with the knight fork and he will lose the rook. So you are recovering the rook there, and of course you have got the knight also. So the last probable option could be say king to e2. What black could go for is bishop c4, making a skewer. King goes here. Now knight d2 check, double attack the king, this fellow. As he goes here, knight into, this is also going with check. Now even if he gives the rook for the minor pieces, say example rook into f1, bishop into f1, rook into f1, what black can go for is simple rook into pawn, bishop into pawn, then grab this pawn also, and at the end still black is remaining one pawn up. Now friends, you know what I will tell you the experience, the thing of experience. Even if black gave this sacrifice, he has already calculated all these things. You know, so now knight e4 check, king goes to the square e1. Now black targets the queen side. See, he has got the beautiful bishops to attack on the queen side. Bishop into b2. Now rook must be saved. Rook d1. Now you know what is white's idea? He wants to give you this check, and as he gives you this check, the exchange of the rooks will be practically forced thing. So what black can go is rook into a2. He can simply allow this check. Don't allow the exchange of the rooks, because this rook is very essential in attacking the unsafe white king. Now he plays the move bishop to e2, bishop to b3, attacking the rook, rook d8 check, king g7. Now many of you may think that why can't he castle? Remember friends, if you move the king once, your right to castling is lost. So play g3, play rook a1 check, bishop to d1, he tries to block it with the support of this rook, and now black had a nice move, bishop to c4. See, before giving bishop c3, which would have allowed him to king e2, he played bishop to c4. Now when bishop c4 thing comes, the white king is practically denied any square to move, and so now on the next step we can have simple bishop c3 to trap the king. White cannot save it in any way. He tried f3, bishop to c3 check, rook to d2, and then bishop into d2 check and mate. So friends, I hope you are learning quite a lot of things from my videos. If you have liked my video, please press the like button, share this video with your friends, and subscribe my channel. Thank you. Have a nice day. Enjoy learning chess.